Alright, everyone. Welcome back to the Galactic Paddock. I'm your non-binary bellwether with the hard light horns, Sheep Saber. And today we're doing a little experiment. We're trying doing our midweek stream on YouTube today instead of on Twitch. And that's partially because I couldn't think of something good to do that Twitch likes on the midweek stream, because I was either going to do more attempts at the Radiance in Hollow Knight, or I was going to try going around getting the materials for the prawn suit in Subnautica, but I think it's not as fun for you guys if I'm doing the middle of something without you being around for the previous gameplay, since I was doing all of that offline without recording. So instead, we're just going to do some more Counterfeit Monkey. Now, when last we left off, okay, so we started out in an alley, and a voice in our head asked us if we could hear them and if we remembered our name. And our name is Alexandra, but previously we were two people, Alex and Andra. And we're on the run from Atlantean law enforcement, so we had a questionable back alley merger to become Alexandra. Because in Atlantis, they discovered that names have power, and so you change the name of a thing, you change its nature. And we've got some, shall we say, contraband Atlantean tech that helps us. We've got our handy-dandy letter inserter, letter remover. We don't have an inserter. That lets us choose one letter to remove from a word. And we have restoration paste that lets us fix a word that's been changed. And we have a monocle that lets us see whether something has been changed or not, unless it has first been rubbed with origin paste, which disguises its origin. Now, our ultimate goal is to get ourselves separated back into our two original people and get the hell out of Atlantis. But before we can do that, we have to find the missing members of our criminal ring, because the closest thing Atlantis has to capital punishment is objectification, where people get turned into inanimate objects and put into storage. And they believe this is better than execution, because there's always the option to reverse it if the person turns out to be innocent. However, the problem is that if something has been changed for long enough, then it loses its origin. And so, like, a person who gets turned into an object will eventually just be that object and not be able to be turned back into a person. And we don't want that to happen to our crime ring buddies. And we also don't want that to happen to ourselves because Alex is really not happy about being Alexandra because there's more of Andra in the physical presentation, and so Alex is a bit dysphoric. And so, anyway, I'm going to take a little sip of my throat coat tea because we're going to be reading a lot, and then we'll hop right into it. Okay. We need to check the dead drop at the public convenience. Let's get a look at our surroundings. Traffic circle. A giant Atlantida statue stands at the center. A signet, outsized, representing the seal of the Bureau, hangs around her neck in classic albatross fashion. The all-purpose officer has climbed partway out along Atlantida's huge metal arm. The all-purpose officer is holding a diminutive affixer. The discarded stuffed octopus lies on the ground, looking sadly at us. And I'm going to drop the officer's restoration gel rifle because we don't want to be caught holding that, I don't think. So here we are at the roundabout. Where do we think the convenience store is? Okay, we want to go east. Oh, the way is still blocked. Can we go back? Maybe we have to wait. Time passes. Alright, we are jammed into the car with our knees almost at our chin, looking out through the bulbous little windshield. The traffic flows in a tight circle around a statue which we know all too well. Oh, I think we missed some text. Let's do a scroll back. The situation is calming down. Traffic is starting to move, and the car behind ours is not delighted that someone parked in front of it. We get into the car. I have to say, that was impressive. I wouldn't have had the nerve and focus for that on my own, and I can't shoot either, but we'd better get on to the dead drop. Roundabout. Jammed into the car. We are jammed into the car with our knees almost at our chin, looking out through the bulbous little windshield. The traffic flows in a tight circle around a statue which we know all too well. Confusing signs point in various directions. Northeast to Deep Street, northwest to High Street, south to Long Street, east to Tall Street. Alright, we want to go east. We are jammed into the car with our knees almost at our chin, looking out through the bulbous little windshield. The motor is growling like a house cat with pneumonia. Tall Street is very quiet. No celebrations have reached this far, and neither is there any business today, so it has an air of dull abandonment. At the east end, the street bends to go around an old park rarely visited. To the south is the important blue rotunda of the Bureau of Orthography. The street runs west toward the busy roundabout. The car is making an unpleasant raspy growl. In contrast with the parks in the more savory parts of town, this is a bit of patchy grass where local dogs occasionally come out to do their business. A granite war memorial is fixed at the center, which is why tourist maps optimistically call the place Monument Green. But the memorial is only moderately monumental, and the grass hardly green at all. We step on a twig before we back away again. It is a place that might have been developed long ago, only it is known that there are remains of Roman settlement here, and there's a risk that digging out the foundations would turn up some of those ruins, exposing a large number of Latin language objects to the light of day. To prevent this catastrophe, the whole area has been placed off-limits to development. We can go southeast and west to Tall Street from here. Let's go southeast. Bus station. A currently desolate depot from which buses run seasonally to Mayana, the island's other major town. The old station building is a low, rectilinear edifice from the 60s, all pebbled concrete and sheet glass, but it's shut, leaving accessible only a series of empty bus bays and a wall-mounted schedule. The public convenience to the east is the only thing open, while the area to the northwest is open parkland. A dove flutters from one surface to another, occasionally stopping to stare at us. A shed, rather ramshackle and unlikely, sits on the pavement where it ought to be in the way of incoming buses. You are reminded of leaving your family for the last time. Remember leaving family. Your suitcase was next to your leg. It was nearly 3 a.m. There were 30 more minutes before the bus would take you to San Francisco. Your mother would have warned you not to be in a place like that alone at night, but it didn't feel then like anything that could happen to you would be worse than your mother's behavior and her anger. Then we're back in the present. Let's look in shed. We find nothing of interest. Look at shed. Sheds like this are typically very cheap and very, very temporary housing for the homeless. The policy of the Bureau is that no one is allowed to beg, and punishments for begging and homelessness are often quite stiff. So there's nothing in the way of an established shelter on the island, and little recourse for those who might need it. Okay, let's keep going east. Public convenience. There are just the 2 toilet stalls and a couple of sinks, but the place has been kept up reasonably well, if one doesn't count the graffiti. A soap dispenser hangs beside the mirror. About knee height, in one of the stalls, is a hole that runs right through the wall between the men's and women's restrooms. It's here that you and Brock and Slango usually leave things for one another. A faint smell of lavender lingers in the air. Oh, lavender. That tells us that whatever's being hidden there, they've used origin paste on it. So let's look in hole. At first, there doesn't seem to be anything in there, but when we put our finger in, we find it's full of ash. Get ash. The ash is not the kind of thing we can just pack up and carry away. Okay, what do we have? Inventory. We are equipped with the following essentials: a backpack, a flash drive, a monocle, some origin paste, a pan, which are really the smuggled plants in disguise, a roll, your tea remover, and a tub of restoration gel. We are also carrying a band, a clock, a fossil, a funnel, guide to Anglophone Atlantis, a leaflet, a letter, a May, which is to say a torn-off page of the month of May from a calendar. It used to be a yam, but we put it on a mirror pedestal, and now it is a May. A pastis, a ticket, and a watch. Let's close backpack. Alright. What can we do with the ash? Maybe we can use restoration gel on ash. We open the backpack. We just touch a coated fingertip of gel on the ash. With an audible splort, the ash becomes some trash. Most of it's junk. Sweet wrappers, tissues, bus tickets. But there's also, suggestively, an appointment card for Arbo Maps and Antiques. The time scribbled at the bottom is 9 a.m. this morning. Looks like Brock's handwriting. There's also a tiny heart in the corner. So, that's where we gotta go next, I think. Long Street South, parentheses, jammed into the car. We are jammed into the car with our knees almost at our chin, looking out through the bulbous little windshield. The motor is growling like a house cat with pneumonia. Long Street is lined on each side with a double row of tall, anemic palm trees that bend towards one way or another many feet overhead. We are now in the southern part of this long corridor between the Canadian Embassy and Arbo Maps and Antiques. Someone has left a shopping bag at the roadside. Maybe by accident when loading up a car, maybe because they mean to come back for it. The shopping bag contains a ball and a jigsaw. We can go north to Long Street, north, south, and west from here. More. The car is making an unpleasant raspy growl. Poor car. I don't remember what it was before we turned it into a car, but it was something that probably wasn't meant to be a car. Put on monocle. Look in shopping bag. Look at the ball. Made of blue and white rubber and decorated all over with a pattern of random letters in different sportive fonts. The monocle pings happily as we sight the ball with the crosshairs. Okay, look at Jigsaw. The boxed puzzle displays an execution scene with several pro-British traitors from the 1820s being lined up before the depluralization cannon. It was thought to be a considerable punishment to be forced to share a body and consciousness with others. Oh, poor Alex. The monocle pings happily as we sight the jigsaw with the crosshairs. Okay, put monocle away and close backpack. Put monocle away. Put monocle in backpack. Close backpack. Go to Arbo Maps. There is a large collection of vintage and antique maps under glass. The island of Atlantis as a whole, with street maps of here and of Mayana, navigation maps of the harbor, and then maps of more distant places as well. A stylish mannequin near the front sports a pair of Britishizing goggles. Overseeing all of this is a woman named Kate. "Welcome to Arbo," says Kate. "Feel free to browse and ask me any questions you may have about the merchandise." We want to ask whether she has seen Brock. Ask Kate whether she has seen Brock. "Have you seen a man, maybe this morning, about this height, dark hair, very blue eyes, kind of cocky?" There's a light of recognition. Yes, he was in. A friend of my boss. He visited the shop and sold us a map he happened to have with him. Then they left together. I believe there was some discussion of seeing a demonstration. We want to ask which map was sold, ask what sort of demonstration, or ask whether Brock seemed upset. For all we know, the demonstration might be the one where we saved the kids from the... saved the protesters from the officers of the Bureau of Orthography. Ask which map was sold. He sold you a map? Which one was that? It's just here, Kate says, going over to the selection and pointing out a map purporting to depict Slangovia. An unusual piece. She glances sideways at us. Alright. Now let's ask what sort of demonstration. You mentioned that your boss and the other gentleman went to a demonstration. What kind of demonstration was it? She smiles and shrugs. Oh, Mr. Arbo used to work for the Bureau before he retired to sell antiques. He still has lots of connections. It could be anything. Ask whether Brock seemed upset. That doesn't seem... Ask about Brock. There's a chance my friend was in trouble. Did he seem to be in a hurry or concerned about anything? Not at all. He appeared eager to speak with Mr. Arbo, and they had plans together, but he didn't seem agitated. If anything, he seemed a little more worldly and collected than people in his line of work usually are. Cryptic. Perhaps he was posing as a researcher. But we can't very well ask, not if we're supposed to be a friend of his. Kate polishes a smudge off the display case. If your friend is missing, you could report him to the bureau, you know, she says. Fat chance. I believe they keep close tabs on academic and research research visitors. They may well know where he is. Thank you, you say. I don't think things are quite at that point. And they never will be, obviously. Something makes you think of how it started with Brock. Brock was sitting at the controls, with you leaning over him. He pushed you away. Cut it out. I'm not available every time you decide to go slumming. It was deep blue summer twilight. He was driving the yacht with one hand on the steering wheel and the other loosely in his lap. You turned to go. Then we're back in the present. Okay. Ask to buy map of Slangovia. Look at the map. It's a detailed street map pretending to correspond to some remote South African town called Slangovia. Cryptic icons dot the surface. There is a legend in the lower right corner that appears to be a separate piece glued on. Look at legend. This legend tells of Ifis and Ianthe. Oh boy, it's a legend, not a map legend. Like, this is the story of a myth rather than a little chart that tells you what the symbols mean. Ifis, a girl raised in disguise as a boy, falls in love with her playmate Ianthe. She prays to the goddess Isis, who takes pity and transforms Ifis into a man, able to marry Ianthe after all. It bears no obvious relation to the map of Slangovia. So I'm guessing either Brock or Slango got transformed into something. Or no, we talked to Slango, so it would be Brock, but... I'll take the Slangovia map, we say. It's not every day you see something like this. Very good, she says. Too bad he didn't think to offer it to you directly, but just as well for us, I suppose. I take this to mean that Arbo is getting a big commission on the sale. Kate removes the map from its case and packs it up carefully for us. Thank you, we say. Alright. Goals. Find a way to understand the map. Look at the Britishizing goggles. An experimental prototype that, from the perspective of the viewer only, adds a U into words ending in OR and reverses ER into RE wherever possible. Subjects wearing the Britishizing goggles generally begin to develop implausible accents and have better than usual success wooing American tourists. Otherwise, the goggles are not much use. Like my monocle, they don't affect the actual form of an object in any way. The surplus stock were mostly given away as rewards to supporters of public television, and the Bureau discouraged even recreational use in the 1980s as they began to make progress toward greater linguistic purity. Alright, well, let's leave the shop. Okay, let's just go east. Okay. Layouts. Let's see. We haven't been south to Palm Square, I don't think. So let's go there. My apartment is in that direction, but unless we have some reason to go there, it seems least suspicious to avoid my old neighborhood. We should figure out the map enough to know where we're going. Okay, so look at map. Put on monocle. What do we do with this map? Why don't we go north for a sec? Oh, let's ask the lady at the bookstore about the legend. Maybe that'd help. Go to bookstore. We're jammed into the car with our knees, etc. House cat with pneumonia. This road descends steeply from southwest to northwest, passing between white concrete buildings to provide access to the marina, the fish market and the docks, and a bar or two. The street is in deep shadow, protected from sunlight from almost any angle by its narrowness and by the height of its walls. The aquarium bookstore is to the east. It is an esoteric bookstore, and purveyor of other things, but one whose owner has helped you in the past. We can go northwest to the fish market, southwest to the roundabout, east to the aquarium bookstore, and west to the outdoor cafe from here. So, east. I try tapping on the door, but Lena calls from inside, "Go away, we're closed." Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, let's smell the map. Okay, so it doesn't smell like lavender. Therefore, okay, what if we remove the legend? Okay, so we can't peel the legend off to see if there's anything underneath it. Oh boy, we're a little perplexed. What if we try to go directly to the university instead of having to pass through Palm Square? Nope. Let's try rubbing a little restoration gel on the map in case it was disguised with origin paste. Nope. Nothing happens. And obviously, we don't have a way to, say, turn the map into a man. It's like, even if we remove the P to make a maw, we can't do that either because the letter remover is hard-coded to not create sentient beings. What are we carrying? Okay, we find no reference to Iphis and Yanthe in the guidebook. How about we go back to the Counterfeit Monkey to see if someone there knows what to do. Built when people were a bit shorter and ceilings were a bit lower, the Counterfeit Monkey is always smoky and never well lit, even in the middle of the day. The clientele are currently engaged in a game of darts, while the barman watches and practices a sarcastic wit on those who embarrass themselves. We can also see a pill here. The pill being what we used to win the origin paste. it was a spill, and then the suggested category for what to turn it into was object smaller than a pebble, so we turned the spill into a pill. Alright. Talk to barman. Parker acknowledges our return with a nod. Ask Parker about legend. Ask Parker about map. What do you make of this? We ask, showing off the map of Slangovia. The barman doesn't have anything to say in response. Okay. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The legend on this map is unusual, we say, pointing out the business of Iphis and Ianthe in the corner. Kate frowns at it. Perhaps it's a story with some kind of local significance? She suggests, after a moment. Who would know about local significance? Okay, we could ask why Arbo now sells antiques, ask what types of antiques they sell here, or ask what the map legend means. Okay, ask why Arbo sells antiques. So, your boss used to work for the Bureau, but now he sells maps? And some other items. Some of them are very difficult to source in Atlantis. But Mr. Arbo has connections, we prompt. She doesn't disagree, but doesn't elaborate either. Ask what types of antiques are sold here. Okay, ask about types of antiques. What sorts of antiques do you sell here? What you see around you on the floor is fairly representative, Kate replies. Maps are a specialty, but we also carry older models of linguistic tools, as well as unusual or vintage Atlantean artifacts. Okay. Ask about tools. Ask about artifacts. I'm afraid I've told you what little I know about that piece, she says. Let's try going back to the church and asking the guy at the counter about that. Go to new church. Not a Gothic cathedral from the era when the church was wealthy and secure, but a gallant neoclassical response to the turmoil of the 18th century, when the power of language was just beginning to be evident, and instead of an immutable cosmology, we suddenly had observer consensus reality. An inscription above the altar, picked out in gold paint, reads, and unfortunately I can't read Greek, but we remember, looking up what it means, and it means in the beginning was the word. Rather fitting. There are side exits both east and west, and a gift shop occupies the narthex at the south end. Go to gift shop. This area used to be a sort of antechamber where the priests and choir might gather for processions into the church, but it has now been done over for retail purposes. This is one of several schemes to make the new church pay for its own upkeep. A problem is that people somehow feel everything associated with a church ought to be free, including lunchtime concerts, potluck suppers, and Thursday night lecture series. The elderly man in charge of the gift shop nods at us as we come in. A long line of dusty tomes are lined up on one of the shelves, marked free for taking. None are missing. Look at tomes. Looking at one gives a sense of awe, extremely dusty, learned, and virtuous, such that I almost fall asleep just looking at it. It's nothing so ribald as the Bible, or even a hymnal or order of service. It appears to be rather a selection of sermons of the 18th century, from a period when it was considered exciting to sit through a 3-hour discourse on theology. The monocle pings happily as we cite the tomes with the crosshairs. Shit, I forgot we're still wearing our monocle. Let's put monocle in backpack. Close backpack. Talk to clerk. Let's check my scroll back to see what... Okay, talk to elderly man might be what I need. Talk to elderly man. I smile. Topics. We did both of those. Show legend to the man. Check this out, we say, holding out the legend for inspection. The gift shop volunteer shakes his head. Okay. Go to cafe. From this slightly raised terrace, tourists have a view of the activity in the market and out over the docks. The street is east, the fish market north. Several round black metal tables have been set out with umbrellas. Don't think there's anybody there. Go to fish market. Not very fishy at the moment. In fact, all the real trade happens in the early morning. Then there's a period of tourist trade when the seafood sale tails off and most of the purchases are of polished conch shells and starfish. And then a little after noon, the area clears out completely, leaving only briny rivulets on the concrete. Just east of here is a rusting corrugated tin building, which was built to house various possessions of the fishermen. We can go north to the docks, south to the outdoor cafe, southeast to Deep Street, and east to the tin hut from here. Let's go north to the docks. Here are some dozens of boats tied up. Some of them are small to medium-sized fishing craft. Some tourist boats for trips around the island, some merely ferries to deeper harbor where the cruise ships anchor. To the east, up a moderate rise from the sea-level docks, is the imposing exterior of the customs house. The classical look is only a little undermined by the public service posters along the front. Immediately west, the Counterfeit Monkey's sign sways in the wind. What can we do? Let's let's go through the help documents to see what, see if there's a way to maybe get a bit more prompting. Okay. We want to go next. Command specific to this game. Inventory tall, inventory wide, and inventory utilitarian. In a location, look carefully. We'll print the room description with object names in bold. If you would like to experience the whole game this way, try highlighting on. Oh, so we have a way to homestuckify this in order to more carefully scrutinize something. And we know that going to a location will take us to the place named, even if it's not directly connected to the location we're currently at, which is really, really handy. Thank you, Emily Short. We love you for that. Sometimes you will recollect things. Memories will list currently available memories, and remember, we'll play the results. Talk to girl or girl, hello, will start a conversation with a person who isn't already talking to us. Ask about and tell about, let us talk about subjects that interest us once the conversation is started. Ask girls about checkers or tell girl about me will work, as will the more abbreviated ask about checkers, tell about me, or even just A, checkers, and T, me. There will sometimes be prompts like, you could ask about whether margarine is better than butter. In which case, ask whether margarine is better than butter will work, but so will a shorter subset like ask about butter, as long as it uniquely identifies the question you want to ask. The topics command will repeat the current topics of conversation and suggest new ones. If you'd like to play in hard mode with some alternate puzzle solutions removed and other puzzles changed entirely, type hard during the first few rooms of the game. After that point, it is too late to qualify for hard mode and you'll need to restart if you wish to activate it. Please press space to continue. Alright. Let's just get one little hintsy-wintsy. Because we are genuinely stuck. Hints for Counterfeit Monkey are available here at interactivefiction.org/t/counterfeitmonkey and visiclues hints 44257. I'm just gonna quick paste that into my browser and see if we can get ourselves a little invisiclue. Okay, so goal, find a way to understand the map. 1. Look at the map. 2. Look at the legend. That's certainly a legend, but not the sort of legend maps usually have. If you explore rooms nearby, you might be able to figure out what Brock did here. Okay, so we want rooms that are near the map store. in order to figure out the legend. So, why don't we start by going back to the map store and using the look carefully command. So we've got a collection in bold of maps and antiques. We've got a mannequin, and we've got Kate. So let's look collection. We pore over a map of the old city when the walls were intact as reconstructed from archaeological surveys. Compare old city to Slangovia. Well, compare isn't a verb that Alex recognizes. Look carefully at map of old city. Look at map of old city. Nope. Okay. Look carefully. Look at map of Mayana. Okay, we can't find a map of Mayana. Okay, look at mannequin. A head and torso only, and abstractly rendered. The vaguely masculine shape is covered in coarse white linen. Put on monocle. Look at mannequin. Okay. Doesn't smell like origin paste. What if we ask Kate about mannequin? Kate doesn't have any response. Ask Kate about collection. No. We could go east. Carefully. Our car. There's a ball and a jigsaw in the shopping bag. Jigsaw. Can we put together the jigsaw. The box is sealed shut for now, which is just as well. Opening it would destroy its jigsaw integrity. Well, shit. Currently on my mind are making my lock, my youthful pranks, how we got here, how it started with Brock, my crew's skill, leaving my family, my crew's attitude to Atlantis law, and past experience playing games. And all of those we remembered previously, so that doesn't help us. Let's go north. On the west side of the street is the several-story front of the Fleur de la Hotel. We can go north to the roundabout, south to Long Street South, and west from here. Well, since we haven't been into the hotel yet, let's put monocle in backpack, close backpack, and go west. The Fleur d'Or is a high-end hotel that serves businessmen and luxury tourists interested in the linguistic mechanisms of the island. As a result, it has all kinds of paid exemptions, including an exemption allowing it to operate under a foreign name. Wow, so they had to get an exemption from the Bureau of Orthography in order to have a business name that isn't in American Standard English. The spotlights in the ceiling light the floor in distinct pools of bureau blue, fuck the bureau, and a sheet of frosted glass etched with random letters separates the lobby from the drinks club to the west. More. There is no one at the glossy piano in the corner, though a piece has been left on the piano bench. Look at piece. It looks like a setting of The Grammatical Number of Our Enemy is Singular, a popular music hall piece of the 1980s that still gets trotted out now and then. There are rousing choruses where the audience can join in to represent the enemy sailors just prior to their encounter with the depluralizing cannon. Oh, that's depressing. Let's do a look carefully to see what we can do. We can look at the spotlights, we can look at the frosted glass, we can look at the piano itself, and we can look at the piano bench. I am reminded of my crew's skill. Remember, crew's skill. A clean-lined, minimal room, but furnished expensively. Fresh-cut tulips in a plain glass vase. High thread count sheets. Vast pillows suitable for the hibernation of giants. The closets feature safes, which is excellent for someone in your line of work because it tends to persuade guests that their computers are being protected when they go out. You were inside because you'd bribed a housekeeper and were gathering information from a businessman's laptop while the businessman himself was downstairs at the bar. But the Bureau also had an agent, also posing as a housekeeper in the hotel, also up to the same purposes. The business with the minibar vodka was clever, I grant. Then we're back in the present. Oh, joy. A little bit of a noodle incident with minibar vodka. Okay, so let's look at piano. A glossy grand, probably worthy of better than bar music. Look at bench. On the piano bench is a piece. What if we use E remover on piece and turn it into a pick? What kind of pick would it turn into? We reset the device to E. There's a mad scientist cackle, and the piece turns into a pick. It's a snapshot of a happy family visiting Typoland Fun Fair, the closest thing Anglophone Atlantis has to an amusement park. Look at pick. I wonder if we can just play the piano. Do I have that ability? We take our seat at the piano. We pick out my mother's favorite Atlantean folk tune. Aww. Okay, now look at lights. The spotlights are more or less steady blue, just fluctuating a little in intensity to add to the sense of being underwater. Look at glass. The glass is good 3/4 of an inch thick and looks very sturdy. The etched letters glow or fade out again depending on the changing light conditions in the lobby. Annotation in the corner indicates that this is a commissioned artwork by Anne Landis Rosehip entitled The Primeval Sea. I wonder if we can look up Anne Landis Rosehip in guidebook. Okay, no reference to Anne Landis Rosehip in the guidebook. Look up Typoland Fun Fair in guidebook. No. Okay. Put guidebook in backpack. Close backpack. Let's go west to the bar. The Fleur d'Or Drinks Club. The back wall is dramatically decorated with bottled liquors of all sorts, from gin to kahata to I don't know how to pronounce this. Let's find out how to pronounce that. How to pronounce Let's make sure that we're okay. Cachaça. Okay. There's a giant bottle of Campari, taller than your average 3-year-old, with a red ribbon around its neck. What makes this place technically a drinks club rather than a bar is its license to serve leather-manufactured food and drink. A toolkit on the bar contains some screwdrivers, some gimlets, and some rusty nails. Perfect. ready to be transformed into their respective cocktails. The bartender is in the middle of showing her hominin paddle to a patron holding a gin and tonic. The other patrons are scattered around the room at small tables, drinking or talking among themselves. She acknowledges us with a nod, and as we stroll up to the bar and get... come on, let me... some more. And get close enough to hear the conversation. It was originally produced as a toy, but it's actually a bit dangerous, the bartender is saying. Dangerous? How so? Asks the patron. Various ways, she says. Suppose I hit a small object that has a big homonym, like, say, a plane. You know, the carpentry kind. Suddenly, I've got an airplane-style plane on top of me. What about... okay. Ask bartender about paddle. Tell me about the paddle, we say. This item, says the bartender, flourishing it for you to see, is a genuine licensed homonym paddle. Changes one item into another item as long as the two have identical names. Show legend to bartender. What do you make of this? We ask, showing off the legend. This? She says, looking a little surprised. You want it converted? Why not? No reason. Just, I did the same item a few hours ago for a gentleman. Really hot, with these amazing eyes. Whatever, you say, before she can get any more excited about Brock. She smirks, then taps the legend with her panel, and it transforms into a proper map legend. What if you hit something that doesn't mean anything else? The patron asks. Like a chicken. Nothing, she says. That's safe. As though to demonstrate, she smacks the paddle against her left buttock. See, I don't get changed into a different bartender. Want to try? She holds up the paddle as though she's going to tap him with it. My name is Mark, he says. Maybe not then, she says, laughing brightly. We could thank the bartender. Thank you. Don't mention it, she says. It's what I do. Okay, so now let's look at legend. This legend has been edited from its original form, replacing the words like hospital and restroom with other handwritten labels. Invite, got, 11, out, T-inserter, etc. By arranging the words of the legend in the order in which the icons appear along the main street, we arrive at got invite, T-inserter demonstration, out 11 a.m. Of course, it's already long past 11 a.m., so Brock's plan clearly went wrong. If we're going to go after him, we'll have to go to the T-inserter demonstration ourselves. The catch is that, as dangerous new technology, it's held inside the Bureau and requires a special invitation to enter. I think I know where we can get one, though. My advisor, Professor Waterstone, that's the person overseeing my graduate research, was also invited to this demonstration. We might be able to get his. Your score has gone up by 3 points and is now 45. I want to see what point. So far, I've earned 45 points. 1 point for using the letter remover, 3 points for passing through the temporary barrier, 3 points for winning the gel, 1 point for using the gel, 3 points for opening the locker, 3 points for retrieving the backpack, 3 points for repairing our car, 1 point for using the spinner, 3 points for fueling our car, 5 points for traveling by car, 3 points for winning a barroom bet, 3 points for arranging contact with Slango through his lady friend, 5 points for meeting Slango, 1 point for using the origin paste, 3 points for visiting the dead drop, 1 point for getting a product out of the hominin paddle, and 3 points for reading the legend. I have not yet removed A, C, F, G, I, J, K, N, O, Q, T, V, W, or Z from anything. The achievements I have accomplished so far include finishing the tutorial mode. Alright, well. So now we need to go to the university, huh? Once we get to Long Street South, we pull easily into one of the available parking spots, since many people have now gone home. From there, we hike over to Palm Square. Unfortunately, we find we lack a key fitting the sturdy iron gate to the university. Palm Square is the beginning of the university district. To the southeast, through the iron gate, is the university campus proper, and that unobtrusive little doorway south of us leads into the Babel Cafe. I live in the apartment complex that runs along the west side of the square. In fact, my apartment door is immediately to the southwest. Well, why don't we start by going south into the cafe? Through many changes of management, this institution has fed the denizens of the university and ignored their semi-sedition. A clerk in a white apron stands behind the long glass case. There are a pocket bread, a wrap, and a honey pastry triangle in the long glass case. The tables are square wooden things painted dark blue, not the vibrant blue of the bureau, but something closer to midnight. And the upper surfaces are decoupaged with antique travel postcards. A blue plaque is mounted on the wall. The clerk grins at us in a welcoming way. On this site in 1969. Nice. The theoretical groundwork for Q insertion was laid by James Elias and Milford Higgett, using 5 drinking straws and a bowl of oatmeal. Clerk, hello. We wave. We can think of no valid conversation topics at the moment. Okay then. So let's go out of the cafe. And let's go southeast to Samuel Johnson Hall. Oh, we don't have a key. Just scroll back. What were we? There's a pocket bread, a wrap, and a honey pastry. Okay. I don't think we have something that can function as a key. But let's look in our inventory anyway. Etc., etc. A pastis, a ticket, and a watch. Okay. So let's go west to our apartment. That way lies the bathroom window of my apartment. Though, in fact, if you have a mind to break in, it's the easiest way. It's not hard to force the window. Okay, we can also go southwest. The window slides open with a hideous protesting shriek. Halt! You, young person! It's my neighbor, Mrs. Parsnip, leaning out from her apartment above us. Mrs. Parsnip and I don't interact except for about once a month when she comes around to ask for my spare change for bus fare or the laundry. Clear off or I'll call the police, she shouts. It scrolled back too much. We need... No, don't worry, I'll handle this. I step us back and stare up at her. I'm a friend of Alex, I say. He called and asked me to stop by because he thought he left the stove on. Said he climbs in the window all the time when he gets locked out. That's true, she says. Shouldn't be allowed out by himself. Okay, go ahead. He's not by himself. He has me. 'Cause we're stuck together in the same body. Like some kind of... Spoilers for the Locked Tomb. We're like Calamities and Camilla. Right. In a mutter, she adds, not like he has anything worth stealing anyway. She vanishes from view. The window is uncomfortably high, and it takes a little scramble to get in, but soon we are inside. Okay. Apartment bathroom. An antique nightstand of my mother's, which does not actually fit anywhere near my bed, is jammed into one corner of the bathroom. There are a key and a ring on the nightstand. The bathroom window gives some weak sunlight. We could climb back out the window, or we could go south into the rest of my apartment. Okay, so, one thing I forgot to talk about is, the distinction between first and second person in this particular adventure. When the narrator is talking in first person, they are talking as Alex. When they say you, they are talking to Andra, as Andra seems to be the dominant personality of this body. Right. Anyway, let's look at key. It's made of an extremely ordinary blank. The key unlocks the apartment door. Well, let's take key. Look at ring. A gold-toned ring that, from a distance, would look like a signet. In fact, the face of it is figured with the symbol of the university, an owl biting the letter A in its beak. Embedded in this face is the tiny ARFID tag that opens generic university security. It is the perfect combination of technical paranoia and old-fashioned pretentiousness, and one is assigned to every new student with great pomp on the day of orientation. The ring unlocks the sturdy iron gate to the university. So let's put on ring. We put on the ring. So let's go back east. Oh, no. Close. We slide the window shut. I feel obscurely better now. Alright. Go to Samuel Johnson Hall. This is the center of the university, a broad grassy oval shaded with sycamore trees and surrounded by buildings in brick or white stone. An activist is standing in our way, gripping a sign that says, "Toxie Waste Awareness." Immediately south of here is the building where I spend most of my time, Samuel Johnson Hall. Do you have a minute to help save the environment? The activist asks brightly. Sure, I guess we have a minute. Oh, sure, why not, she says. Wonderful, she beams. She sets down the sign in order to free her hands for more expressive argument. Listen, we're trying to gain financial support to make a major advertising campaign pushing the concept of toxie waste throughout the Anglophone world. If you know anything about linguistic efficacy, I'm sure you can imagine the implications. I can In fact, imagine the implications perhaps a little better than she would like. I'm inclined to encourage the activist to elaborate on the implications. Ask activist about implications. No. Talk about implications. Oh, we say neutrally. This is all it takes. Toxi-waste would be, in concept, a completely harmless, safe, and neutral substance that would have no detrimental impact on the surrounding environment. By raising awareness of toxi-waste throughout the Anglophone world, we would put the collective consciousness to work for the environment. It would then be possible for volunteer workers to convert large stocks of dangerous toxic waste into the safe, neutral toxi-waste, using minimal energy. I'd like to ask how consciousness will be raised, or ask how the campaign will address problems of visualization. Ask how consciousness will be raised. Okay, no. Talk consciousness. And, how do you plan to raise awareness of toxi waste to sufficient levels to achieve linguistic efficacy, we ask. Well, that was mostly me. But I'm curious. That's where people like you come in, she admits with a sweet little smile. She channels all her rhetorical power through her eyebrows, which rise toward her hairline at moments of greatest earnestness. The next few months are critical to our operation, the activist says. We need to be able to blitz multiple countries simultaneously with an intense and outrageous advertising campaign that will garner further media coverage from news sources and provoke discussion on the internet and in the workplace. But in order to do that, we need the funding to place high-profile advertisements in a variety of places. That's why donations from people like yourself are going to be so very necessary. She channels... no. We could donate. Okay, let's donate some money. Oh, you're not seriously going to... Oh, God, you are. You know, this is never going to work. There are sound scientific reasons why... Oh, fine. We hand over some of your money. I guess I should console myself that it is yours. To the girl. Thanks, she says brightly. Tucking the bill into her pocket, she gives a little skip and heads off across the oval to accost some other innocent. You've just enriched some random television network, you understand. That money won't do a lick of good to anyone else. But sometimes just paying someone to go away is the quickest solution to a problem. So, now we can go south. Samuel Johnson Hall. This is the main building for language studies. This is not to be confused with language engineering, which is the department that handles devices for the manipulation of language objects. It is also not to be confused with linguistics, English literature, or comparative literature, all of which have their own buildings and facilities. Language studies applies itself to questions of linguistic efficacy, chiefly at a social and anthropological level. That's to say, we study how the ability to change things based on their names affects daily life and society. The department office, with several professorial offices leading off of it, is to the southeast. To the southwest is the seminar room where many of the upper-level courses occur, and which also contains the department library. Downstairs is the basement, where the graduate students and junior instructors are kept. On the wall hangs a framed photograph of Professor Waterstone, with the words Shapley Chair in big letters underneath. Alright, well, junior instructors are kept in the basement, so let's go to the basement. dank and malodorous. There are no windows down here, and the drainage is terrible. The stairs are up here, the lecture room at the east. Immediately south is the graduate student office, and southwest is Professor Brown's office. The most interesting of all is a small door west, trying to look inconspicuous, but locked with a keycard lock. It's where the department stores its most dangerous and licensed equipment. Its most dangerous licensed equipment. A large open carton stands against the wall right between Brown's lab door and the interesting door. Recycling, reads the sign over the carton. Place your lab-created items here for processing. The large carton contains a banana. I wonder what the banana once was. Put on monocle. Look at banana. There is a dismissive blat from the monocle, and transposed over the banana is a faint, unappetizing image of a bandana. Okay, so not much use there. Put monocle in backpack, close backpack. Alright, let's careful. So the stairs are up, the lecture room at the east, immediately south is the student office, and southwest is Professor Brown's office. So let's go southwest. Professor Brown, the reification of abstracts professor, is hunched over his work table. Brown is only barely a professor at all. Actually, his working title is senior lecturer, and he holds a yearly contract with which the university has the option to renew at a whim. This prevents him from going elsewhere while ensuring that he never has a fully funded lab of his own. All the electrical equipment down here is tinker toys compared to the stuff he really wants. In fact, half of it he built himself with components he bought with his own money. I know all this because Brown's cornered me in the hallway one afternoon and talked to me for 20 minutes straight about the pressures of academic job hunting in the current political climate. I tried to get him to stop, but he's like a wind-up toy. "Don't touch anything, please," he says without looking up. We could ask what he is doing. What are you doing? Ask Professor what he is doing. What are you up to here? We ask. Asking Brown questions when he's working is a bit of a crapshoot, I tell you now. He wiggles his nose back and forth. I knew him for 3 months before I figured out what the wiggle is. It's his hands-free way of working his spectacles back up his nose when they start to slide down. Without looking at us, he says, "I'm getting ready to do a new calibration run on love." This is a favorite of his because you can get it so easily from a glove, so the materials are inexpensive. I'm inclined to ask what love looks like or ask how Professor Brown makes abstracts. What does love look like, then? We ask. As though I hadn't seen this a bunch of times already. It varies, Professor Brown replies. The manifestation of a complex concept depends on a variety of circumstances. By default, if multiple concepts are available, the letter tool will produce whatever concept requires the least energy to produce. But in cases where several concepts are indistinguishably popular, the results are apparently random. Recent research suggests that the outcome can be influenced by the language community surrounding the operation, and even by the intention of the tool's user, to a limited degree. But I am not interested in pursuing those angles at present. There, Professor Brown in a nutshell. Did he tell you anything you wanted to know? No. The deal is that manifestations of love tend to look like stuff you'd find on a greeting card. Roses, hearts, kiss symbols. Every once in a while, you'd get something a little more platonic. But it's a letdown, if you wanted to know the truth. Most significant abstracts are like that. All you get by reifying them is a popular visualization. Ask how Professor Brown makes abstracts. What equipment do you use to make your abstracts, we ask. It's an ordinary letter remover with a few adjustments, Brown says. The department's computer can lift some of the legal overrides on standard letter tools. The job would be easier if I had access to higher-powered machinery, but I'd like to ask whether he can fix the letter remover. Could you fix my letter remover to make abstract objects as well? It's not difficult. You just... stay here. I'm not supposed to bring students into the rectification room. He takes the letter remover and steps out in the hallway. I can hear him using the keycard on the door, going into the little room west of the hallway, doing something there. Don't bother thinking we're going to cosh him and take the keycard. I'm sure there's a better way, and I don't cosh people. He comes back in a minute. There, he says. Should be abstract enabled now. I'd like to ask what he thinks of the letter remover, or thank Professor Brown. Is there anything else that could be done to upgrade my letter remover? We ask naively. Nothing I can help you with, I'm afraid. There are some safety overrides that could be programmed out, allowing you to make living creatures, but that's... he does his spasmodic shrug. One of those things where I think the laws have a point. It's dangerous and possibly even cruel. Ask why reifying living creatures is cruel. Why would it be cruel to make a living creature, you ask? Well, we don't know whether such creations have awareness and sensation like other creatures, he says. If they do, it is horrible to bring them into existence only to send them out again. Yeah, okay. Thank Professor Brown. That's wonderful, thank you. Yes, well, he says, don't show it to anyone. Technically, you shouldn't have that. Oh, we have lots of things that we technically shouldn't have. Anyway, let's go back northeast. And let's see what else we've looked at. Okay. Let's try... We can try the grad student office, and we can try the lecture room. So let's try the grad student office first. A small, windowless room divided into cubicles for individual graduate students. A tiny refrigerator stores lunches, sometimes, and looted leftovers from department receptions, when available. On top of the fridge, there's a coffee maker. My cubicle is the one with the swivel chair, toward the back of the room by the water cooler. I cleared everything subversive out of there ages ago, and now I do most of my work at home in the apartment. It's safer that way. We can see a sticky on the swivel chair. I half recognize the handwriting, but I'm having trouble placing it. One of the other grad students, but I'm not sure which. Look at sticky. Please be careful. The blue hats are watching you. Look at cubicle. Little more than a swivel chair and a built-in desk now. Look at water cooler. Perpetually empty because no one down here can be bothered to go up to the office, demand a refill, and lug the replacement bottle down the stairs. Oh joy. Let's go back north. Now let's try east. Lecture hall at the podium. The main lecture hall used for large survey courses in language studies offered to undergraduates. I sat through courses here when I was an undergraduate myself, and have now delivered a few lectures as a teaching assistant. Oh boy, we're trapped in a body with a TA. The room extends south, full of hard wooden seats. Abandoned on one near the back is a coat, which we cannot turn into a cat because living creatures cannot be made with the letter remover. A poster at the front of the room announces a conference on cultural reactions to linguistic change. It is being held in Nice the day after tomorrow with Professor Waterstone as keynote speaker on the topic of homonym shame. Somehow I had forgotten about the date of this. I'd been much too worried about our escape. I wonder what homonym shame is. Look at coat. It's been abandoned for a while, since this isn't the time of year when people wear coats. It's brown cloth, only thick enough to keep out rain or a mild chill, and it's rubbed shiny at the elbows. No wonder the owner didn't miss it much. Look at poster. It's the usual sort of thing. The conference title set in papyrus font. A stock daguerreotype of a portly woman holding a letter remover the size of a policeman's cosh. Inset pictures of the major speakers with pride of place for Waterstone himself. Let's check my goals. So, we need to speak to Waterstone, we need to gain entrance to the Bureau, and we need to find Brock. So, if Waterstone isn't in the lecture hall, well, at the podium, let's look what's in the seats. Many are the fine hours I've spent here dozing, and many are the students of mine who have done the same. The circle of life becomes complete. The room extends north, full of hard wooden seats. Abandoned on one near the back is a coat. Someone has taped to the wall a course advertisement for next quarter, inviting interested undergraduates to enroll in Interlingua 101, probably Professor Higgett's work. Look at advertisement. Interlingua 101. Learn a language you already know. In smaller type beneath. Interlingua se basa a parolas internacional preponderantemente de origine latin que has supervivite a nostra dies e que existe in italiano, español / portuguese, francés e inglés lenguas de referencia, plus germano e ruso como reserva. I am probably mangling this Latin. La grammatica del interlingua es un racionalizate síntese de gramáticas de referencia. And then a final tagline. Interlingua is the modern Latin. Oh, maybe it's, maybe I haven't been reading actual Latin. I've been reading Interlingua, which is, I'm assuming, a conlang, like, shit, what's it called? The one that song from Final Fantasy XI is in. Esperanto. That's it. So basically, this is for a course on a synthetic language, the idea of which is that you already kind of know the bases of a lot of English words, but because it also shares some linguistic tendencies with other Romance languages, the speakers of other Romance languages would be able to figure it out. Well, English isn't a Romance language. English is a Germanic, and then shook down a bunch of other languages for loose grammar in the back alleys. Right. Well, what if we looked up Interlingua in the guidebook? Look up Interlingua in guidebook. Oh, open backpack. Look up Interlingua in guidebook. Nope. No references to Interlingua in Anglophone Atlantis. Put guidebook in backpack. Close backpack. I know I'm a little bit fastidious about closing the backpack, but we don't want any bureau bastards just looking at our backpack and seeing all of our dirty little forbidden items. Anyway, let's go back north. Go west. Go up. Let's look at the photograph. The Shapley chair is not named after the famous suffragette Phillida Shapley, but after her considerably less famous or interesting descendant Lawrence Shapley, who was well placed within Dental Consonants Ltd. When it started up, and subsequently had buckets of money with which to endow university chairs. Nonetheless, this position is a point of considerable pride for Professor Waterstone, and gets him many invitations to speak both here and abroad, which he takes terribly seriously. More to the point, the government permits him to attend. This may explain the particularly expansive grin on Waterstone's face in this image. Usually, his pleasure is expressed more moderately. Okay then. Let's try the southwest. We lack a key that fits the seminar door. How about southeast? Language Studies Department Office. This big, slightly drab area holds such useful objects as the mailboxes and the secretary's computer. On ordinary days, the secretary would be in as well, presiding over affairs. The offices of individual professors lie north and west. The department printer also sits on the U-shaped desk. This corner office was won in a battle of wills with several other departments during the most recent rebuilding drive. Professor Waterstone is fond of reminding the others that he was the one to obtain this favorable position whenever there's a disagreement about procedure. Okay, let's try north first. Waterstone's office. Oh, we guessed first try. A very finicky, neatly arranged room in which one never feels quite at home. Professor Waterstone is sitting here. Waterstone is my dissertation advisor. He insists on the O spelling. He's an expert in the history of linguistic and orthographical power, but he's politically kind of reactionary. Don't meddle is pretty much his motto. We can see an invitation on his desk. It's from Dental Consonants Limited. Their design of stationery is unmistakable. In front of Professor Waterstone is a small laptop. He looks up at us gravely. I don't believe we've met, he says. Can I help you? I'm inclined to make up some excuse, ask whether he met the activists, or ask why he is working on Serial Comma Day. I forgot. It's a holiday. Happy Serial Comma Day, everybody. Why are you in today, we ask. Isn't it a holiday? The pursuit of knowledge does not occur according to the calendar, he says. Then he adds, and my wife is having the carpets shampooed and kicked me out of the house. I'd like to ask whether he met the activists. Did you run into those activists outside? Sadly, it is our misfortune constantly to encounter people with no concept of what language manipulation can and cannot do, Waterstone says. He really seems to be in a bad mood today, even for him. Maybe a fight with the wife, or a nasty letter from the dean. There's a brief pause. Look, I really must work on this, says Waterstone, chasing us to the door. Perhaps someone else in the department can answer a few of your questions. I believe I saw Professor Higgett earlier, and Professor Brown is usually in his lab downstairs. I'm sure he's not working on anything too urgent. Goodbye. The office door closes with measured firmness behind us. Through the window in Waterstone's door, we can see him turning the lock. When he catches us watching, he gives a tight, unfriendly smile and goes back to his desk. A moment later, the printer whirs thoughtfully. Language Studies Department Office. The big, slightly drab area holds such useful offices, etc., etc. I'm sorry, why did I say etc.? That's not how etc. is pronounced. My mouth sometimes moves faster than my brain, and sometimes neither my mouth nor my brain are coordinated. Maybe I was looking at the word desk. Okay, let's look at printer. The networked printer handles output for all the computers in the department. The indicator lights glow red to indicate that the paper drawer is empty. An additional light indicates that some document is in the queue to print and is waiting for the printer to be ready. The printer is currently switched on, the paper drawer is closed, and there is nothing in the output tray. Okay, so we need to find paper to put in the printer tray, probably. Let's look carefully. Look at the desk. Formidable in size, but even that is not enough to support all of the things that the secretarial staff need to keep track of. On the U-shaped desk is a printer. Look at the mailboxes. There are slots for all the professors and graduate students. Undergraduates, of course, are too insignificant to be assigned mailboxes and are not allowed to have mail delivered to the department. Well, shit. Let's be naughty. One of many beige boxes hooked into the university's main system. The secretary's computer is currently switched off. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's go to Professor Higgett's office. Higgett got about 30% finished with a stylish decorating scheme and then got distracted, leaving everything in an unsettled state. A few of her books are arranged on a very nice rosewood bookshelf, which looks Asian and is ornamented with small figurines. All the rest of her library is stacked higgledy-piggledy in plastic cartons. Professor Higgett is sitting at an oval table on which are spread an ugly yellow book, a sugar bowl, a teapot, and a romance novel in some heavily accented language. Higgett is the second reader on my dissertation committee and a conlang expert, that is, constructed languages. It was a seminar with her that really got me thinking about utopian linguistics, and she's been very supportive, though cautious. She and Professor Waterstone don't always get along that well. She looks up when we come in. I don't know how to speak Lojban, if that... What is Lojban? It's just pronounced Loban, is a logical constructed human language created by the Logical Language Group. Let's see. Loban pronunciation rules. Because I want to know. Loban has 6 recognized vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and Y. The first 5 are roughly pronounced as A as in father, E as in let, I as in machine, O as in dome, and U as in flute. So A, E, O, and U, like Latin. Y is pronounced as the sound called a schwa, that is, as the unstressed A in about or around. 12 consonants in Loban are pronounced more or less as their counterparts in English: B, D, F, K, L, M, N, P, R, T, V, and Z. The letter C, on the other hand, is pronounced as the SH in hush, while J is its voiced counterpart, the sound of S in pleasure. G is always pronounced as in gift, never as in giant. S is in cell, never as in rose. The sound of X is not found in English in normal words. It is found as ch, or in Scottish loch, as in Spanish junta, and as in German Bach. It also appears in the English interjection yeah. It gets easier to say as you pronounce it. The letter R can be trilled but doesn't have to be. Okay, let's see what our... So... Ihudo se bangu la Loban? Higgett asks. She's asking whether we speak Loban. For the present, I think we'll raise further questions, fewer questions, if we say no. I'm afraid I don't understand, we say, smiling faintly. Her face falls. Ah, I was hoping you would be here for conversational Loban tea. The room is conspicuously lacking other Loban conversationalists. We want to ask how Professor Higgett is doing. How are you? We ask. Forgive me these irrelevant questions, but I haven't seen Professor Higgett for a few days, and she's one of my favorite people in the department. I worry about her a little. She looks taken aback, as though trying to figure out whether she knows us. Then she shrugs this off and decides to proceed as though she does. Oh, you know, she says, it's that time of year when the energies run out and the students have to be prodded with an electric rod to get them to do any work. And then I've got this book I've got to write, and Professor Waterstone keeps talking about how next year he would like to take a break from being director of graduate studies. We want to ask what would be so bad about directing graduate studies. Ask what would be so bad about directing graduate studies. What would be so bad about being director of graduate studies? I ask, a little surprised. I always thought she liked graduate students. Oh, nothing. It's just, I have this book I should be writing, and Professor Waterstone has done the job for so many years that he's... She pulls up short, apparently remembering that she doesn't actually know us at all. He's very experienced, and I'm not sure he would enjoy watching someone else do it differently, she concludes tactfully. Our personal styles are not very similar. There's a brief pause. I'd offer you some cucumber sandwiches, Professor Higgett says, but I'm afraid I ate them all. Well, darn. We want to ask whether she might let us into the language studies seminar room, or ask which conlangs she knows. Let's start with the more innocent question. Which conlangs do you know, then? Esperanto, Volapük, and Loban, naturally, she says. Interlingua, a bit of Phrygian. She is careful to pronounce the H sound. Quenya, Klingon, Royship, Tokipona, and several others, in which I am not fluent enough to speak, but know well enough for the purposes of study. Okay. Ask whether she might let us into the language studies seminar room. Could you possibly let me into the language studies seminar room? We ask. There's something I'd like to do in there. Do you have some student ID or something? You see, and this is a little embarrassing, I'm afraid I'm not quite placing you at the moment, and I'm not supposed to allow students into that room unless they have some affiliation with the department. Of course, we don't have any ID and no prospect of getting any, but you might be persuaded by some other evidence of affiliation. Maybe a book to return. Let's see. How about show professor guidebook? Open backpack. Show professor guidebook. Here, have a look at this, we say. This evokes no particular interest. Show ring to professor. We draw Professor Higgett's attention to the ring. Professor Higgett doesn't have anything to say in response. Darn. Put guidebook in backpack. map in backpack. Close backpack. Topics. Let's ask what the romance novel might be. Oh, what are you reading there? We ask in our best earnest undergraduate voice. She blushes, very faintly. It's a novel in La'dan, she says. A relatively little spoken language, but I'm trying to master it. It was designed as a language for women, which has interesting sociological implications, though I fear it was not as widely taken up as the designer might have hoped. I'd like to ask whether Professor Higgett would translate part of the novel. Would you translate part of it for me? We ask. The blush deepens. Some of the ideas are hard to express in single words of English. This suffix, for instance, has a pejorative meaning, so when it is attached to the word for experiencing a sexual act, that may suggest that the act was unsatisfactory. How interesting. And we already asked her about the activists. Let's look carefully. We've got the rosewood bookshelf, the figurines, the cartons, the desk, the table, the sugar bowl, the teapot, and the table. Okay, let's look at bookshelf. We see nothing special about the rosewood bookshelf. Look at figurines. They depict mostly characters from popular children's fiction. Professor Higgett has a particularly strong and inexplicable fetish for the Wizard of Oz. Okay, how about look at table? Look at sugar bowl. The bowl's empty. Look at teapot. Black and Japanese styled. How lovely. Okay, well, let's leave Professor Higgett's office. Think. Back north, maybe? No. Northwest. Southwest. We don't have a key for that. Down. Cubicle is empty. Look in fridge. Open fridge. Revealing some cream and a silver platter. Oh. Okay, I think I know what to do here. Let's use C remover on cream. Take ream. Close fridge. We're not an animal. Well, I mean, I'm a little purple sheep, but Alexandra is not an animal. Let's go back north, go back up. Go southeast. Put ream, or maybe I have to open the printer drawer first. Open printer drawer. I only understood the first part of that. Trying anyway. Retrying as open printer. We pull up on the little catch and draw the drawer out. It's empty. Put ream in printer. The ream fits exactly into the depth of the drawer. We adjust the plastic clamps that hold the pages in place until everything is snug. Welcome to University Faculty Simulator 2023. Close printer. The paper drawer slides back into place with a click. The printer whirs as though clearing his throat, and then begins to spit pages rapidly into the output tray. Look at pages. It's 15 pages, double-spaced, and appears to be the draft of a talk Professor Waterstone is preparing to give at a convention. I immediately notice, however, that several portions of the speech are marked with angry triple asterisks. Waterstone's way of marking up parts of text that need serious revision. The talk concerns homonym shame, the anxiety felt in the Victorian era, and still manifested at times in the modern culture about objects that shared the same name as, and therefore theoretically might be converted into, something rude. Methods of disguising the legs of pianos and crotches of trees occupy a good portion of Waterstone's exposition, and there is a page-long aside on methods of making sure that donkeys are known by their name and not by the alternative. To judge, however, from the angry asterisking, Waterstone is still looking for at least one more example of an object susceptible to double entendre that has been successfully rendered innocent by some linguistic modification. What if we could find a naughty object that could be rendered innocent? Oh, I think this is where I was stuck the last time I left off. So, I know in the first episode I said that I thought we were supposed to be making the professor the worst cup of coffee ever. No, we're supposed to find a dirty object that has a clean homonym. Okay. Let's see if we can go back into Professor Waterstone's office. We like a key. Okay. Get pages. We get the draft document. Now, I'm going to save because I haven't saved in a while, and that's bad practice for adventure games where the mantra is save early, save often, and don't overwrite your saves. So let's save. And we're going to call this save dirty speech.glk save. And I know it's been kind of a short stream, but my throat hurts and I want to make myself something that vaguely resembles dinner. So anyway, we will be continuing our regular Yakuza stream on Saturday back over on Twitch. So thanks for hanging out with me, if you've been hanging out with me at all. And y'all come back now. You hear?